All right, everybody. Good morning. Happy Sunday. We've got a game in about 4.5 hours, a little bit less. I will be doing the watch along stream for today's game, so keep an eye out for that. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I did have to delete the initial Seahawks Colts watch along stream that I had set up. For some reason, when I went live last night for the Huskies watch along, the Seahawks watch along stream went live at the same time and just wasn't showing anything. I don't know why I took specific measures to prevent that, but it happened. So I deleted that stream, recreated it, which I'm not happy about, but whatever, we did it. And I will be going live at about 1:20, 1:25, right around game time. So tune in if that sounds like fun to you. Tune in if you want to see me react to play-by-play, talk about the game, talk about other stuff. You guys know the drill by now, but it is the last watch along I'm doing. Let's talk a little bit about pregame. Before we go any further into this video, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper. Let me tell you, if you're not using Sleeper this year for daily fantasy football, you are missing out. Check out the left side of your screen right now. Look at all the great fun stuff you can pick on over there. All kinds of over-unders, pretty much any sport you can imagine. Obviously, we're big fans of football around here. Let's take a look at my entry for this week. I've got Jerry Jeudy going over 34 yards against the Bears. I got Derrick Henry scoring a touchdown against the Bengals. I've got Pat Mahomes going under 241 passing yards against the Chargers. And I have Jason Myers kicking at least 2 field goals against the Colts. So get on over to Sleeper. You can put together an entry just like this. And if you use promo code SBN, you can get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Check them out and test your football knowledge. All right, so yesterday when I was in the parking lot of Marconi's, I covered some of this stuff very briefly, but to go into it a little bit more and to discuss some of the details around it, let's kind of dig a little bit more. So Dugar here has a tweet outlining all the roster moves Seattle made yesterday. Some of this stuff relates specifically to this game. Some of it is more general. But let's take a look here. Let's go through it first. Activations. The Seattle Seahawks have activated 3 players from injured reserve. Jalen Sundell, Eric Saubert, and Riley Mills. Now, just because they're activated to the 53-man does not mean they're actually going to play today. Remember, teams have to cut down from the 53-man roster to an actual active list for each game. That's why before games you will see each team release an inactive list. So Sundell, Saubert, Mills, any of those 3 or even all of them could be put on the inactive list before kickoff. So we'll keep an eye out for that. If there's a particular plot twist on the inactive list, maybe I'll make another video about it around noon. But just understand that there is some ability, some possibility of these guys not playing. And they could not play for the rest of the season in theory, as unlikely as that is. Elijah Arroyo got placed on injured reserve. We know about that. So Elijah Arroyo out for the rest of the regular season. Could come back for the first playoff game. Don't know if he will. We signed Shaq Griffin and Cam Akers to the practice squad. So those guys just got let go. And then we put them on the practice squad. So that was obviously what we wanted to happen. We still want them in the building. We just don't have room on the roster for them because of all this other stuff we're doing. So they stick around. And that's something that we haven't had happen every time this year. There have been guys we've let go that we wanted to get back on the practice squad that we simply could not. I think Quinton Bohanna was one of them. He got picked up by Green Bay. There was another one earlier this year, so good news. We also pushed Myles Gaskin and Jimmy Holiday off the practice squad to make room. So we can see where the priority is. We can see our preference for who we want on the practice squad. And to my knowledge, as of right now, the only practice squad elevation the Seahawks have is Velus Jones Jr., running back, which makes sense. He's our 3rd string running back right now. With Walker and Charbonnet as 1 and 2. If not for Jones, then you'd probably be giving some reps to Shaheed, because we like to line him up in the backfield sometimes, and then I don't even really know. What, Robbie Oots, who's never touched the ball in his NFL career? Probably not. Okay, so that's a rundown of all the roster stuff from yesterday. But we're going to go a little bit deeper into this as well, specifically concerning Riley Mills, but also just the usage of injured reserve in general. So I know that Eric Saubert got extended. He got a 1-year contract extension yesterday. I'm not going to speak to that because I don't know what the contract is. I think that Saubert's doing his job pretty well this year. I think that he's been a valuable blocking tight end, and I think that he has earned the opportunity to stick around. If the contract is more than like $3 million for the 1 year, I'll be very confused, admittedly, but I don't know what it is right now. So we'll talk about that when it's time to talk about it. So let's talk about injured reserve because Seattle finds themselves in an interesting situation where they now officially have more players on injured reserve than they are allowed to bring back during the 2025 season. Nemhauser kind of lays it out here. Right now, Seattle has 2 more injured reserve activations remaining the rest of the year because they've already used most of their IR activations earlier on guys like Julian Love, now Jalen Sundell, Eric Saubert, Riley Mills. There were a couple others as well, guys who started the season on IR and were brought back or were injured early and then came back. So as it stands, we have 2 more activations, and then we get another 2 activations when the postseason starts. So 4 more, and we have 5 guys currently on injured reserve. Arroyo, who just went on yesterday, Derek Young, Torrey Horton, George Holani, and Chaz Surratt. So one of those guys has to basically be left behind. I don't think it's going to be Arroyo because he does play. As much as he doesn't do a lot, he does actually play. He is active every week. He gets in the lineup. He gets like 30 snaps a game when healthy. I don't think it's going to be Torrey Horton either because as much as there isn't a ton for him to do right now, he is probably wide receiver 4. And he's also valuable as a backup punt returner behind Shaheed. Horton was doing well as a punt returner before Shaheed got here. So, number 4 receiver, backup punt returner who was doing good. He should come back. And I don't think it'll be Derek Young either, because as much as Derek Young has been kind of pushed down to maybe wide receiver 5, maybe even 6, what he does as a kick returner, again, kind of now the backup kick returner behind Shaheed, does help. And he's also a generally valuable special teamer. So I think that he's probably going to come back. If something happens with Shaheed, Young is your kick returner, and he was doing good, just not as good as Shaheed can do. And I think that's going to go ahead and get him the value to come back. So you've got George Holani, who is eligible to come back, I think, a couple weeks from now, and Chaz Surratt, who is eligible to come back in about a week, maybe 2. So I think that's probably going to be the decision. Maybe Derek Young gets involved as well. But George Holani, 3rd string running back, didn't really use him that much. He had 1 game where he did some stuff. I think it was the second Cardinal game. Gets the ball maybe once or twice a game. But there's not really much there that I think is really covetable. But you do need a 3rd running back, and I guess he is that. And then you've got Chaz Surratt, who is a pure special teamer, but maybe you feel like you're a little bit thin at linebacker overall. Right now, Seattle has Jones and Drake Thomas at linebacker. Behind those 2 guys, you have Pat O'Connell and Tyrese Knight. Maybe you feel like you need a break glass in case of emergency linebacker. Now, I personally think that you don't, because you have Eamon Wari, who can kind of play surrogate linebacker for you anyway. And I think having 4 off-ball linebackers is sufficient. So I would assume that Holani comes back and Chaz Surratt just gets left on the injured reserve all season. That's what I think we're looking at. So Holani, Horton, Young, Arroyo, look for them to return in the coming several weeks. In the case of Arroyo, he can't come back until the end of the regular season, but that's honestly fine. So we'll see how Seattle works with this. And if somebody else gets hurt, you may have to sacrifice somebody else. Like, what if somebody, like let's say today we lose a semi-critical player to injured reserve? Well, that semi-critical player is probably going to take priority over Derek Young or George Halani. All right, so one more thing I want to talk about before I end this video, because some people are asking about this. First of all, Riley Mills. Nemhauser addresses this point on Riley Mills. And this goes for the other players as well. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Just because a player has been added to the 53 doesn't mean they're going to actually play in the next game. Every team, before a game starts, releases an inactive list, typically 7 or 8 players that are part of the 53-man but will not play in that upcoming game. You have to trim down to, I think it's a 45-man roster, maybe it's 46, but I think it's 45 before the game starts. So don't be surprised if Mills does not play. Don't be surprised if Sundell or Saubert doesn't play. I think Sundell and Saubert will play, but you have to be open to anything. But before I leave, I want to talk about one more thing, because a lot of people are asking about this, and I want to try to correct the record as much as I can. Since Riley Mills has not played this season because he was injured during his final season at Notre Dame, a lot of people thought we're going to roll him over into 2026. Because the idea is, if a player does not play enough in one season for reasons that do not have anything to do with the team simply holding them out because they wanted to, or because of an injury they sustained while playing for the team, that player does not get a season of service that will get them to free agency when their contract is up. It basically pushes the contract out by a year. So let's think about this. So this is what happened with Darrell Taylor. Darrell Taylor did not play at all his rookie season because he was injured. He had sustained an injury with Tennessee, or maybe it was that offseason after, but it was before he was a Seahawk. He had an injury, missed the whole year. So that way, when he got to the end of his rookie deal, he was not an unrestricted free agent. He was restricted, which allowed Seattle to keep him for a much lower cost than a contract extension would have been. Now, they decided to actually give him a contract and then, I believe, trade him. So they still didn't keep him, but they were allowed to do that because of the injury situation. So Riley Mills, here's the question. How many games does he need to play in for this year to count as an accrued season on his contract? Because the idea is, we're already at the end of the year. You do not want to bring him back just in time to get an accrued season if he's not going to be able to do that much anyway, and all you're going to do is mess up the status of his contract in a few years. So according to operations.nfl.com, which is the most official source you can imagine here, in order to accrue a season, a player must have been on or should have been on full play status for at least 6 games in a given season, 6 regular season games. We only have 4 regular season games left. Therefore, it is impossible for Riley Mills to play in 6 regular season games. And I'm going to say it again. The injury he sustained was in college. So we should not be on the hook for that. It should be exactly the same as Darrell Taylor. So therefore, if we activate Riley Mills today and he plays in every game the rest of the season, he will still not accrue a season. So if you were concerned about that at all, don't be. Now, there is one other thing here. A credited season only needs 3 games, which means that if he plays in the next 4 games, he'll hit that. But keep in mind, that would be the case even if we held him out of this game and brought him back for the Rams game. And remember, if we do not bring him back next week, then he goes on IR for the whole season and cannot come back. And at the end of the day, whatever little or whatever good or however you feel about Riley Mills, this Seahawks team is clearly capable of winning a Super Bowl. So this Seahawks team should do everything they can to make themselves as good as possible, even if it costs them a extra year of club control down the line on one of their players. But As near as I can tell, an accrued season is what matters, and it needs 6 games. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. That's the rundown. Let me know what you think. See you guys soon.